Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the cost factor. If it's the cost, if that's the concern that the seller has, it kind of baffles me. Because here's the thing, even the most experienced repeat sellers, they often want representation just so that they have a buffer between them and the buyer, and of course the people representing the buyer. Now, some sellers, they even incorporate power of attorney to represent them at the closing table, just so they have that much more of a buffer, so they're more, shielded from the personal part of the transaction. Now, some sellers, they think they can save some money by letting an agent know that they'll sell the property themselves, but they're happy to pay a commission for bringing a buyer. Well, there's several points these sellers are missing. First of all, listing agents, the seller's agents, they can advertise the seller's home to quite a few more buyers than the average seller would be able to do, locally, nationally, and even globally. And that's on over 100 website sources alone, and including the use of the multiple listing service, the MLS. Can the average seller cover that much ground? I mean, also, statistically speaking, sellers close for more when represented, according to the National Association of Realtors. Back in 2016, they did a profile of home buyers and sellers, when, of course, they're represented. And that often is covering the cost of the agent's commission and then some. Simply because agents have access to the resources and networks that get the home sold. Besides the initial cost factors, though, sellers may not realize in this situation where, they say, oh, yeah, I'm not interested. I'm going to sell it myself, but you can bring a buyer. So in that situation, the fiduciary responsibility of that agent is then representing a buyer, not the seller. So the seller will not have any representation at all. And she will be investing her money to find a buyer who may very well offer less than what the seller believes the house is worth. In fact, the agent has the data to support her client's offer price. This means the seller will be playing by the buyer's agent terms, okay? So the buyer's agent would expectedly look after her client, which may result in what the seller deems as unfavorable terms. Also, the buyer's going to be paying for the home with a mortgage. If that's the case, the mortgage company will be sending an appraiser over. If the home does not appraise for what the buyer offered, there's a good chance the seller will feel pressure to sell for what the appraiser said. A strong buyer's agent will then expectedly negotiate in her client's favor, looking out for her best interest.